Stop for a moment and ask yourself this. Why do some people move forward rapidly, while others remain stuck for years? It is not luck. It is not talent. It is what they refuse to carry with them. Success is not only about what you do, it is about what you are willing to eliminate. Today, you will discover the 7 things you must cut to win. Excuses are quiet, comfortable lies we tell ourselves to protect our ego from discomfort. They don't shout, they whisper. They sound logical, even justified. I'm tired, I don't have time. I'll start tomorrow. And slowly, without realizing it, these small phrases begin to shape a life of delay, limitation, and regret. An excuse does not remove the problem. It only removes responsibility. And the moment responsibility disappears, so does your power to change anything. Deep inside, you already know the truth. You know what you should be doing. You know the actions you've been avoiding. But excuses act like a shield between who you are and who you are meant to become. There is a weight to unfulfilled potential, a silent heaviness that follows you when you know you are capable of more but choose less. It shows up in quiet moments, when you are alone with your thoughts, wondering what your life could have been if you had just taken action when it mattered. Excuses keep you comfortable, but they also keep you stuck. And comfort, when it becomes a habit, slowly turns into a prison. You were not created to live a life of hesitation and avoidance. You were given abilities, time, and opportunities as a trust. And every time you choose an excuse over effort, you are neglecting that trust. There is a powerful reminder in faith that every individual is accountable for what they do with what they have been given. Time is not random. Your abilities are not accidental. Your opportunities are not meaningless. They are part of a responsibility placed upon you. When you say, I can't, ask yourself, is it truly impossible or is it uncomfortable? Because growth is never lived inside comfort. Excuses delay effort, but they do not delay consequences. Days turn into weeks, weeks into years, and one day, the cost of inaction becomes painfully clear, not in loud failure, but in quiet regret. Regret is one of the heaviest emotions a person can carry. It is the realization that you had the chance, but chose not to act, that you had the ability, but chose not to try. And nothing hurts more than knowing you stood in your own way. Your situation may not be perfect. Your circumstances may be difficult, but there are people who started with less than you, faced more than you, and still refuse to make excuses their identity. Because they understood something powerful. Progress begins the moment excuses end. There is strength in honesty. The moment you stop blaming time, people, or conditions, and say, it's on me, that is the moment your life begins to shift. It may feel uncomfortable, it may feel difficult, but there is something deeply freeing about taking full responsibility. Because once you do, you are no longer waiting for change, you become the cause of it. Excuses weaken your spirit. They slowly convince you that you are powerless, that life is happening to you instead of through you. But the truth is, you are far more capable than your excuses allow you to believe. Every time you silence an excuse and take action instead, you rebuild trust in yourself. You prove that you are not controlled by fear, laziness, or doubt. You prove that you are capable of discipline, effort, and growth. And that shift is not just external, it is internal. It changes how you see yourself. It strengthens your belief. It awakens something within you that excuses try to keep asleep. There is a higher standard you are meant to live by, a standard of effort, accountability, and intention. Not perfection, but honesty. Not ease, but effort. Because one day, you will look back at your life, and in that moment, excuses will not matter. Reasons will not matter. What will matter is what you did with what you had in the time you were given. Negative thinking does not arrive as an enemy. It comes quietly, disguised as logic, caution, or past experience. It tells you to expect less, so you won't be disappointed. It tells you to doubt yourself, so you won't take risks. It tells you to stay where you are, because moving forward feels uncertain. And over time, these thoughts begin to feel like truth. But they are not truth. They are habits. Your mind is one of the most powerful forces you have been given. It shapes how you see the world, how you respond to challenges, and ultimately the direction of your life. If your thinking is negative, your life will begin to reflect it. Not because life is against you, but because your perception filters every opportunity before you even touch it. Negative thinking is not just a mindset, it is a silent destroyer of potential. It drains your energy before you even begin. It convinces you that effort is useless. It turns small obstacles into overwhelming barriers. And the most dangerous part is this: it feels normal. When you repeatedly think thoughts of doubt, fear, and limitation, they begin to settle into your identity. You no longer question them, you accept them, you begin to believe, this is just who I am. But you were not created to live under the weight of constant negativity. You were given a mind capable of vision, creativity, and belief. There is a deep spiritual truth in this. What you consistently hold in your mind begins to shape your reality. Your thoughts are not empty. They carry direction. When your thinking is filled with negativity, it slowly distances you from hope, from effort, and from trust. It makes you forget that every difficulty comes with the possibility of ease, and every hardship carries meaning. Negative thinking often grows from past pain, from failures that were never healed, from words that were spoken to you when you were vulnerable, from moments when things did not go your way, but your past was never meant to imprison your future. Every day you wake up is another opportunity to choose what you allow into your mind. And that choice is more powerful than you realize. You cannot control every situation, but you can control what you repeat to yourself about that situation. When something goes wrong, the negative mind says, "This always happens to me." The disciplined mind says, "This is temporary." When faced with a challenge, the negative mind says, "I can't do this." The disciplined mind says, "I will find a way." These are not just words. They are directions. There is accountability, even in thought, because your thoughts influence your actions, and your actions shape your life. If you allow negativity to dominate your thinking, you are not just harming your mindset. You are limiting the life you were meant to build. And deep inside, you can feel it. That quiet frustration, that sense of knowing you could do more, be more, become more. But something keeps pulling you back. That something is often the story you keep telling yourself. Negative thinking keeps you focused on what is missing instead of what is possible. It blinds you to opportunities. It weakens your confidence. It slowly convinces you to settle. But your life was not meant to be built on doubt. It was meant to be built on belief, effort, and trust. Cutting negative thinking does not mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let negativity define your reality. It means choosing thoughts that strengthen you instead of weaken you. It means becoming aware of what enters your mind and refusing to let destructive patterns stay unchallenged. There is strength in guarding your thoughts, in questioning the voice that tells you to quit, in replacing "I can't" with "I will try." Because every time you challenge a negative thought, you take back control. And slowly something begins to change. Your mindset becomes clearer. Your energy becomes stronger. Your actions become more intentional. You begin to see possibilities where you once saw limits. You begin to move forward where you once hesitated. And most importantly, you begin to realize that the battle was never outside of you. It was always within your own thinking. Not every place you stand in is meant for your growth. Not every person around you is meant for your elevation. Some environments look normal on the outside, but slowly destroy you on the inside. A toxic environment does not always appear as chaos. Sometimes it is subtle. It is the constant negativity in conversation, the lack of support when you try to grow, the silent jealousy when you begin to improve, the energy that drains you without explanation. And the longer you stay in such an environment, the more it begins to shape you. Human beings are deeply influenced by what surrounds them. Your thoughts, your habits, your standards, they are all affected by the people you listen to and the spaces you occupy. If you stay in a place where excuses are normal, you will begin to justify your own. If you stay around people who complain constantly, you will slowly adopt the same mindset. If you remain in an environment where growth is mocked, you will start shrinking just to fit in. And the most dangerous part is, you may not even realize it's happening. You start lowering your standards without noticing. You stop pushing yourself. You begin to settle, not because you want to, but because everything around you makes it feel acceptable. But deep inside, there is discomfort. A quiet voice that tells you, this is not where you belong. A feeling that you are capable of more, but something is holding you back. That feeling is not random. It is a sign. You were not created to stay in places that suffocate your potential. You were not meant to remain around energy that constantly pulls you away from growth. There is a spiritual responsibility in choosing your environment, because what you surround yourself with will influence your actions, and your actions will be part of what you are accountable for. If your environment constantly pushes you toward negativity, distraction, or weakness, and you choose to stay without resistance, you are allowing that influence to shape your path. And one day, you will look at your life and wonder why you never became who you were meant to be. Not because you lacked ability, but because you stayed where your ability could not grow. Leaving a toxic environment is not easy. It may mean distancing yourself from people you have known for years. It may mean walking away from comfort, familiarity, and routine. It may mean standing alone for a period of time. And that is where most people struggle, because loneliness feels heavier than toxicity in the moment. But what they don't realize is staying in the wrong environment slowly destroys you in ways that loneliness never could. There is strength in separation. There is courage in C. Choosing growth over comfort. Not everyone will understand your decision. Some will question you. Some may even criticize you. But not everyone is meant to understand your journey. You have to protect your mind, your energy, and your purpose. Because once they are constantly exposed to negativity, it becomes harder to stay focused, harder to stay disciplined, harder to stay strong. Your environment either feeds your growth or feeds your excuses. There is no neutral. You must begin to observe what surrounds you. Pay attention to how you feel after conversations. Notice whether your goals are supported or dismissed. Recognize whether your environment challenges you to improve or pressures you to stay the same. Because growth requires the right conditions. Just as a seed cannot grow in poisoned soil, you cannot reach your potential in a toxic environment. And deep down, you already know what needs to change. You know the conversations that drain you. You know the habits that keep you stuck. You know the people who pull you away from who you want to become. The question is not awareness. The question is courage. Courage to step away. Courage to create distance. Courage to choose a better environment, even if it means starting over. Because once you change your environment, something powerful begins to happen. Your thinking becomes clearer. Your focus becomes sharper. Your standards begin to rise. You start to see what is possible when you are no longer surrounded by limitations. And slowly, you begin to align with the life you were meant to live. Fear of failure is one of the most powerful forces that holds people back. Not because failure is so dangerous, but because fear makes it appear that way. It speaks to you in quiet moments. What if you try and it doesn't work? What if you embarrass yourself? What if people see you fail and so you hesitate? You delay, you stay where it feels safe. But safety, when driven by fear, becomes a cage. Fear of failure does not stop failure. It stops progress. It keeps you from even beginning. It convinces you that avoiding risk is better than pursuing growth. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin to build a life around avoidance instead of purpose. You tell yourself you are waiting for the right time. You tell yourself you need more preparation. You tell yourself you will start when you feel ready. But the truth is, readiness is often an illusion created by fear. No one feels fully ready before they begin something meaningful. Every step forward carries uncertainty. Every attempt carries risk. But within that risk lies growth. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the process that leads to it. Every mistake teaches. Every setback reveals something you did not know before. Every failed attempt moves you closer to understanding what works. But fear distorts this truth. It makes failure feel final when in reality it is temporary. It makes failure feel like an identity, when in reality it is just an event. You are not your failures. You are the one who learns from them. There is a deeper reflection to consider. Why do we fear failure so much? Often it is not the failure itself. It is the judgment that we imagine will come with it. We fear what people will say. We fear how we will be seen. We fear the feeling of not being enough. But living your life based on imagined opinions is a heavier burden than failure itself. Because when you let fear control your actions, you begin to abandon your own path. You start choosing comfort over purpose. You start choosing silence over expression. You start choosing inaction over opportunity. And deep inside, there is a tension, a feeling that you are capable of more, but something keeps stopping you. That something is fear. But fear only has power when you obey it. The moment you act despite fear, it begins to lose its control over you. There is a strong spiritual reminder in this. You were not created to live in constant hesitation. You were given the ability to try, to strive, to grow. Effort is within your control. Outcome is not. And your responsibility is not to guarantee success. It is to take action with sincerity and courage. When you begin to understand this, fear starts to weaken, because you realize that failure is not a sign to stop, it is a step in the journey. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful has faced failure. Not once, but repeatedly. They were rejected, they made mistakes, they experienced setbacks, but they refused to let failure define them. Instead, they allowed it to refine them. There is strength in trying again. There is growth in learning from what went wrong. There is power in refusing to give up on yourself. Fear tells you, what if you fail? But a stronger question is, what if you don't try? Because the pain of failure is temporary, but the pain of never trying stays with you. It shows up as regret. It lingers in your thoughts. It reminds you of the chances you never took. And nothing weighs heavier than unrealized potential. Cutting fear of failure does not mean you will never feel afraid. It means you will no longer allow fear to make your decisions. It means you will move forward even when uncertainty exists. It means you will take action even when doubt is present. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it. Every step you take in the direction of your goals weakens fear. Every action you take builds confidence. Every attempt strengthens your belief in yourself. And over time, something changes. The fear that once controlled you becomes small. The hesitation that once stopped you begins to fade. And in its place, you begin to develop resilience, strength, and clarity. You begin to understand that failure was never your enemy. It was the path you were meant to walk in order to grow. Procrastination is not laziness. It is a silent form of self-betrayal. It happens in the smallest moments, when you know what needs to be done, but choose to delay it just a little longer. Later, tomorrow. After I feel ready, and these small delays begin to collect. They pile up quietly, unnoticed at first, until one day you realize how much time has passed without real movement. Procrastination feels harmless in the moment. It gives you temporary comfort. It removes the pressure of action. But what it gives in comfort, it takes away in progress. Every time you delay what matters, you are not just postponing a task, you are postponing your growth. There is a deep emotional weight attached to unfinished actions, a quiet stress that follows you throughout the day, a voice in your mind reminding you of what you should be doing, but are not. And the longer you ignore it, the heavier it becomes. You begin to lose trust in yourself. You start questioning your discipline. You feel stuck, not because you lack ability, but because you lack movement. Procrastination disconnects you from your own potential. You set goals, but don't act on them. You make plans, but don't execute them. You dream, but don't move. And slowly, your confidence begins to fade, because confidence is built through action, not intention. There is also a deeper truth to confront. Time is not waiting for you. Every day you delay is a day that will never return. Every hour wasted is an opportunity lost forever. Time is one of the greatest trusts you have been given. It is limited. It is valuable. and it is being recorded in how you choose tea. Oh, spend it. There is accountability in this, not just for what you did, but for what you kept delaying, even though you knew it mattered. Procrastination often hides behind emotions. You delay because the task feels difficult. You delay because you fear imperfection. You delay because starting feels overwhelming. But the truth is, waiting does not make it easier. It makes it heavier. The task remains. The pressure grows. The resistance becomes stronger. And what could have been done with a small effort turns into something that feels impossible. Action breaks this cycle, not perfect action, not complete clarity, just movement. Because once you begin, something shifts. The resistance weakens. The fear reduces. The task becomes manageable. You realize that the hardest part was never the work itself. It was starting. There is a powerful discipline in doing things even when you don't feel like it. Because feelings are temporary. They change constantly. But your actions, they shape your life. If you wait to feel motivated, you will wait forever. But if you act despite how you feel, you take control. Procrastination teaches you to follow comfort. Discipline teaches you to follow purpose. And you cannot follow both at the same time. Every moment you choose action over delay, you strengthen your character. You begin to rebuild trust in yourself. You prove that you are capable of doing what you said you would do, and that builds something powerful, self-respect. There is also a spiritual awareness in this. You have been given time, energy, and ability, not to waste but to use. Delaying what is important is not just a habit, it is neglect. Neglect of your potential.
Neglect of your responsibility. Neglect of the opportunities placed in front of you. And deep inside, you feel it. That quiet discomfort, that inner tension, that sense of knowing you are
Capable of more? That feeling is a reminder that you are meant to act, to move, to strive. Procrastination numbs that reminder, but it never removes it. It stays with you, waiting for the moment you decide to finally take control. You don't need more time. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to feel ready. You need to begin. Because the moment you stop delaying and start doing, you step into alignment with the life you were meant to build. The need for approval is one of the most invisible chains a person can carry. It does not look like weakness. It looks like politeness, like humility, like fitting in. But deep inside, it quietly controls your choices, your voice, and your direction. You begin to measure your actions by how others will react. You hesitate before speaking, wondering if it will be accepted. You delay decisions, waiting for validation. You adjust your dreams so they do not make others uncomfortable. And slowly, without realizing it, you stop living your life and start performing for others. Approval feels good. It gives you a temporary sense of acceptance. It makes you feel seen, appreciated, and valued. But when your sense of worth depends on others, you give away your power. Because people are inconsistent. Their opinions change. Their opinions change. Their perspectives are limited. And no matter what you do, you will never be able to please everyone. If you live for their approval, you will constantly feel uncertain. One moment you feel confident, the next moment, a single opinion shakes you. That is not strength. That is dependence. And dependence on approval slowly weakens your identity. You begin to silence your true thoughts. You hide your real ambitions. You avoid taking bold steps, not because they are wrong, but because they may not be accepted. And this is where the damage begins. Because your life was never meant to be shaped by the comfort of others. You were given a unique path, a unique vision, a unique responsibility. And when you constantly seek approval, you drift further away from that path. There is an emotional weight to this, a quiet frustration that builds inside you when you know you are holding back, when you know you are capable of more, but you choose safety over truth. You smile when you want to speak. You agree when you want to disagree. You stay small when you feel called to grow, and that creates an inner conflict because your actions no longer match who you truly are. there is also a deeper reflection to consider. Why do we seek approval so much? Often, it comes from a desire to feel accepted, to feel worthy, to feel like we belong. But true worth does not come from people. It is not something that can be given or taken away by opinions. Your value is never dependent on validation. There is a spiritual truth in this. You are not accountable to people's opinions. You are accountable for your intentions, your actions, and how sincerely you live your life. People do not fully see your struggles. They do not fully understand your journey. Their judgments are based on fragments, not the full picture. So why allow incomplete perspectives to control your complete life? Living for approval leads to hesitation, and hesitation leads to missed opportunities. You second-guess yourself. You overthink simple decisions. You delay action, waiting for reassurance that may never come, and time continues to pass. Opportunities do not wait for approval. Growth does not wait for validation. There is strength to action. There is strength in standing alone when necessary. There is courage in making decisions that others may not understand, because not everyone is meant to understand your path. When you begin to release the need for approval, something shifts with. In you, you think more clearly. You act more freely. You stop filtering your life through the expectations of others. You begin to trust yourself, and that trust is powerful. It allows you to take risks. It allows you to express your ideas. It allows you to move forward without constant doubt. You no longer wait to be told you are ready. You decide that you are. There will always be opinions. There will always be criticism. There will always be criticism. There will always be voices that question your choices. But those voices only have power if you choose to listen. You cannot control what people think, but you can control how much influence you give their thoughts. And when you reduce that influence, you take back control of your life. There is a higher standard you are meant to live by. A standard of sincerity, effort, and purpose. Not driven by applause, but driven by intention. Because at the end of your life, it will not matter who approved of you. It will not matter who agreed with you. What will matter is whether you were true to what you were meant to do, or whether you spent your life trying to be accepted. Winning is not a mystery. It is a decision backed by elimination. When you remove excuses, fear, distraction, and doubt, you make space for focus, growth, and success. Remember this. Your life will not change when you add more. It will change when you finally decide what must go. Cut what weakens you, and you will discover the strength you always had.